This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios.
Good morning to you once again. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga, and we are having Good Morning Uganda agenda. Now, the global agenda is COVID-19, the pandemic that has thrown everyone, every country, every nation, every sector off their feet. And now they're trying to find a way to actually get back on their feet. However, the challenges are not just physical, but they're emotional, they're spiritual, and so many people have lost hope. And people have lost hope as individuals. People have lost hope as businessmen, educators, parents, communities. People have lost hope as countries. When it comes to COVID-19, the vaccination, it's still a struggle, especially for African countries, to get them. So there's so much around us that is causing turmoil, and that turmoil is going back to the one individual, and that is myself, and that is yourself. How are you responding to all of this? Well, in response of such, we have done some research here as Good Morning Uganda, and we've realized there's so much despair that people are going through. There's so much hopelessness that people are going through because they are not sure how they're going to survive for today, and they're not sure if they're going to wake up for tomorrow. They have lost what is the one thing that can hold them together, and that is hope, and that is faith. So here on Good Morning Uganda, our agenda today is to restore that faith into you this morning. And speaking of which, we're going to be talking about staying alive through hope. Now, here to talk to us about staying alive through hope is a communicator, a life transformer, an educationist. That is Irene Odwo. Good morning to you, Irene Odwo.
Good morning to you.
It is a pleasure to have you in physicality and not over radio waves as used to be the case. How does it feel transitioning from radio to visual media?
It's actually totally different because in radio the audience is invisible, so you can do whatever crazy stuff.
Own world,
yes,
you have control over your world.
Exactly, and when you're in the studio you can be as crazy as you want. But now there is eyes on you, so it's got to be something totally different. It's a great experience though, I must say. Yes.
Okay, all right. As you can hear, her voice is quite familiar on the radio waves. She has been on Radio 1, and by the time she left Radio 1, she was the programs director of Radio 1, and that is a radio station. And I know Ruben Pima Chivirango loves this radio station. He listens to it morning, night, evening, in his sleep. Now, you have experienced so much in life, and especially through media, you get to interact with a lot of people.
Yes.
COVID-19 has come and it has hit us. We're now into a second wave as Uganda. But I would like to go back to the year 2020. March 18th, President declares that we're going to go into a total lockdown. This is an unknown territory to everyone, right from government onto the individuals or the Ugandans. As a Ugandan, what was your experience from 18th March into the lockdown? What were your downs and what were your ups?
Thank you so much. I'll start with my downs, because it came at a time when, for me, everything seemed to be picking up very fast, because I have now branched into personal development, and my activities required me with physical interaction, and had just started building up communications with people who will help go with me on this journey. So number one,
bookings,
yes, bookings, you had contracts. Everything was rosy, everything was happy.
And you said the year 2020 is our year.
Exactly, and that's what I said in the first year. I even posted it on my social media with the fireworks and said, this is my year. And I remember when they announced the lockdown, I said, okay, this is now what's going to happen. No contracts, no work, no nothing, no money coming. What am I going to do? But it found me at that place in my personal involvement when I had since learned that everything that happens around you, if you let it suck you in, you will flow with it and you will disappear. So I remember sitting in my bedroom and saying, you know what? I was supposed to be helping people with personal development. I have a phone. I have Wi-Fi. I still had some money on my mobile money. Instead of me sitting in my bedroom and getting depressed and making everybody in the house depressed, let me share what you can do in such a time. You see, human beings are so used to a certain flow, a certain
routine.
Exactly. But as I was journeying in my routine of personal development, I realized for you to experience something new, different, you've got to go into the unknown. But this unknown is not what I expected. So I remember telling myself, the best thing I can do now is to reach out to people and tell them the power to be in peace starts with you. It's not an easy thing because we get so busy and so caught up, wake up, you have a routine, and the routine makes your life certain. So I started sharing simple tips like when you wake up in the morning, you know, we've been taught gratitude, but we take it for granted. So I started every morning when I would wake up, I would say, I'm alive. That means there's a reason for me to be. Then I'll ask myself, what do I need to do today, right now, not tomorrow, right now? I need to eat, I need to keep happy, and I need to keep the people around me happy. So whatever I would do, I started sharing it on my social media platform and say, the power to stay sane is with you. Because if you're going to find it in the contract that has gone, in the job that is yours, that's not where you're going to find peace. So it's simple exercises that I used to do and share on social media. And before I knew it, I forgot that I was even in a lockdown, because I'm a kind of person who loves to travel, and locking me in a house, oh no. And I forgot that, hey, I'm not going out anymore, I'm not going up country, but I'm alive. And I'm not depressed, because now I was reaching out to people. That's when I realized it's good to build relationships. You know, it came at a time when there was also a lot of animosity between people. And in that moment, you just need one person to listen to you. So even right now, if you could just get one person to listen to you and just say, good morning, how are you? Yesterday, a friend of mine just called me to say, I needed to hear a voice. And I said, anytime you need someone just to say hello to you, my phone is available. So it starts with you, the individual, finding peace in uncertainty. You know, I've read a lot. So when I read about the plague, I started asking myself, how did these people come out of it? It forces you to look in a different direction. It is uncomfortable, but nothing different and nothing new is going to come unless you look into the uncomfortable. So I told myself last year on that day that come next year, somehow in my spirit, I knew there was still another wave, because that's how universe flows. When there's a disruption, it doesn't come once. 1, 2, 3. But when you look at history as the humans are evolving, in every disruption, you have to have hope. Because if you don't have hope, it's your lifeline. If you don't have hope, then everything you fear and imagine is actually going to happen. Like right now, when it happened, I remember telling myself in the window when the president announced the lockdown, I went to that same window and I said, I told myself, if a second lockdown comes, I will be in a stronger place, and I'm going to keep giving hope to people. Because in the process, guess what? In the lockdown, I connected to so many people, each one sharing their story, how they came out of it. And you know, those relationships help you, because someone will say, oh, this is how I was feeling and this is what I did. And because I did it, I came out of it. In the process, you find yourself getting networks, and then the money you are looking for is actually in those small networks. As long as I can eat, sleep, and say I'm alive for now, it keeps you going and you stay alive.
Irene, you have mentioned hope over and over again. A dictionary definition of hope is feeling of expectation or desire that something is going to happen. Now, those two have been robbed from not just Ugandans, but people across the globe. What is the true definition of hope in the last 365 days that we have experienced lockdown, that you have experienced lockdown? What has become the true definition of hope through your lenses?
For me, the true definition of hope is the state of my inner being. Because hope is the things, these are things you hope for, but they're not playing out. So I have learned that anything that is going to happen to me that will be good has to come from the unseen inside piece of me. I'll be honest with you, even when the lockdown came, many people want to go inside. It's when you sit in that silence. I know it's uncomfortable, but you just try it and say, you know what? I see a better world out of this. You've got to paint the picture in that invisible place. It's not what is playing out. What is happening now is just history. It's done. We have to accept what is happening. But how do you hold your inner peace and still paint a picture of what you want to see? So for me, it is that invisible that hasn't yet happened that you know should be happening now, and you hold on to it in your heart and in your mind space. But if you look around, everything is falling apart. So you can't draw hope from what's happening. Every 5 minutes you check your phone, they're telling you so-and-so has passed away. There's nobody who hasn't been hit by this. Nobody. I saw my children yesterday. A classmate of theirs lost a mom. She was close to us. But there's a way these children sat and said, you know what, mommy? Her mom may have gone, but we are here for each other. And that's why relationships, having a connection with someone is very important. This is not a time to be fighting. This is not a time to be arguing. This is not a time to be pointing fingers, because you're pointing away the responsibility from you. No one will give you that peace but yourself. Like I said, you just wake up every day and be grateful first to yourself, by the way. It's funny. You just say, thank you, I'm alive today. Thank you for being alive. How can I serve me first? Start by being kind to yourself. Yes, things get tough. And I noticed when you say kind things to yourself, kind people are attracted to you. So that hope is actually inside of you if only you keep quiet and see it. If you start blaming things outside of you, you start complaining, that's what will multiply in your life, because the power is actually in each one of us.
Talking about staying alive in this pandemic, how do you keep hope alive? And Irene Odwo is here definitely giving us a hint on how she was able to apply some techniques that have enabled her to actually thrive through the second wave. Into the second wave, there's expectations of third wave. In South Africa, they're already experiencing their third wave. You're seeing, you know, the G8 countries are finding all sorts of measures and solutions to curb the pandemic. But you cannot curb something that is as viral as this. It's very hard to bring it under control. Now, speaking of bringing it under control, you have talked about the fact that there's so much around us. The impact of this hopelessness or despair is, for example, children. You're having a high registration of cases, teenage pregnancies. You are having a high registration of domestic violence. 2 days ago, Uganda police came out with another report that in just this 1 month, they've reported so many domestic violence cases than ever before. Now, these for me are indicators of how people are responding to the pandemic. Now, how do you keep quiet? How do you create quietness away from the pressures that a person is facing? I'm a father, I have to fend for the family, but I don't have a job. How do I keep that away and create an inner peace or an inner attendance to self in terms of hope?
Okay. The pandemic actually did highlight something that human beings have been avoiding for years or centuries.
Which is that?
That you have to first give yourself the value. It sounds a bit selfish, but first value yourself. If you're in a bad state, then you're going to be useless to others.
So before you say that, what was that before the pandemic? What were they giving value?
Before the pandemic, you were just fulfilling roles and duties, but you were not present for yourself. You are okay, because I'm telling you what evolvement I've gone through. As I have grown in my understanding of the power that is within each one, I realized that we subscribe to roles and duties. And now when those roles and duties are taken away, we have no identity. And when you don't have identity, then there's no hope, because your hope is in the car, the house, the husband, the children. You peg your hope onto an outer experience. Whereas inside of you, each one of us has a hero. So it sounds a bit selfish, but you need to be selfish as head of the home and say, okay, they may shout, may throw everything. Let me first find the peace. When you do, you'll eventually even come out and say to the wife, you know what? We don't have food today. Don't get angry about it. If we can just have water and do something little, in the process, you'll find what to do. And like I said, until you still yourself and say, it's selfish, yes, you'll tell the wife, I actually do not have money, and do not get angry about it, because everybody is facing this situation. But the human beings have been so taken up, and I believe this is what the universe is telling us, that, hey, stop. The power is within you. You see, right now there's a lot of negative energy. So I just walk into a room and I know, okay, here the spirits are down. So what do? Who is in a stronger place? You who is in a stronger place, lift up the spirit. I know they will tend to throw it away. Throw a good word. Like right now, anybody wherever they are, as much as possible, avoid words, because it just takes one word. There's no food, and the fight begins.
Yeah.
Whereas
the power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yeah.
Whatever you say actually brings life. Whatever you say will create the environment you want to see.
So many people haven't practiced the discipline of self-control. Myself back in. I'm practicing what? Self-control, because it won't make any difference if I get involved in someone's anger. And guess what? If I do not get involved immediately, the energy coming from that person will not have something to feed off. So it's calling each one of us to be responsible. Yes, we will feel depressed. Yes, we will feel angry. But are you taking the responsibility not to add on to the already heavy negative energy that is flowing out there? To be honest with you, right now, someone expects to save, someone's going to save you. The truth is, you have to save yourself first. The moment you put yourself in a space where your mind is kind of finding peace, your emotions are not all over the place, it's there that you will even find some solutions. It may not be what you want. For example, I didn't know the gold that I got during the lockdown came in form of me giving non-monetary value. As I speak now, it earned me a scholarship to learn how to speak on a platform that is global. Someone just offered it because I gave myself.
Which was not in your original plans.
No,
because
it wasn't.
If the pandemic hadn't come, you'd be going about
yes.
your business,
yeah.
your pleasures, the outer hopes.
Yes.
Okay, yes,
So
it does make sense.
Every negative thing has a good seed if only you see it. Even today, as I leave the studio, I know I'm going to find messages, so and so has passed away. It was drowning me, so I said, you know what? We still haven't come to terms with death, yet it's part of the journey of evolution. What has happened now is that it's en masse. So the energy has hit us all of a sudden, left, right, and center. Everybody has been affected. I've lost this, I've lost. If you haven't lost a person, you've lost a business. And you're like, I was getting my identity in this. So you sit down and say, is this what I really wanted to do? Because I'm looking at my friends who have passed on and I say, their memory will be remembered for what they did. You know, even when you just silence yourself and say, is this what I want them to say when I finally cease holding this body? It should give you hope to say, as soon as something can happen, I want to make my life first better. And when you make your life better, it will also improve the lives of those around. Because right now, my association has grown big. Again, people have come to my inbox, but they're not where they were last year. They're much stronger. They're also helping, because I say, once you help yourself, help someone. Right now, we all need to help each other, but it starts by you helping yourself first. It sounds selfish. It sounds crude. No savior is coming out of there to save you, but yourself. So every day, wake up and say, I'm grateful. What is the one thing I can do in this hour? The second thing I can do. 1, 2, 3 is what I tell them. 1, 2, 3 of the
baby steps.
Baby steps. Don't worry about the contracts. And you know, once you disengage from that, things start falling into place. They'll come differently, but it's because you've held your inner peace.
Well, there are people that are having suicidal tendencies in this season.
Yes.
There are people who have become so interesting to the extent that they are doing crime. People have turned to drugs, substance abuse, is as a way of managing the fact that they don't have hope in themselves. How do we help charter these people that are in our community? I may be okay, but now how do I help such a person charter them back to the core of who they are and find hope in themselves?
And you said it, the core of who they are. Right now, if you see anybody around you and you feel like they're out of their mind, it takes one kind word to tell them. You know, even the word, it's going to be all right, if you say it from the heart, itself will release someone. But everyone right now is panicking. I've got to mind my own, my own. So